Poison orb emitting.
This connector. I'm shooting this one.
One enemy remaining.
Nice ace, bro. Let's go.
What's up YouTube, it's Dr. Zor helping cure you from being a noob. Today I'm going to go over the top tips that I use to beat a former professional player from Cloud9, Sean Garris. I was playing ranked and ended up queuing against him and his pre-made 5 and we actually won the game. And this video is going to go over the tips that me and my team use to achieve this and how you can do the same to get better quickly in Valorant. If this helps you out, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below on which tip helped you out the most. Let's get into it.
Die-line with the boom pow. Every week now I switch to a new sound. 212s in the back just blew out. Everything I do end up in a news now. Yeah, lead a club with a few now.
Jumping right into it, the biggest round that gave us even a chance to win against Sean Garris is this pistol round. We started off playing default, which means we had a couple people at each choke point to make sure that no one was pushing and to maintain map control and try to find a gap in their defense. One thing that Sean Garris mentioned is that we actually didn't take a lot of map control at all. It's several seconds into the round and we were just sitting back looking for a potential garage push. We definitely could have tried to push further and take more of mid, but because we didn't, I got to whoop Sean Garris. After checking garage for a while, I noticed that none of us were at C long, so I decided to check that, and sure enough, Sean was flanking and I was able to get a sick one tap on him. At this point, we had so many options we could do. The best play to make at this point was to either take C or A, challenge the site, and then force the other players to rotate as far as possible. We ended up picking A. I smoked CT in heaven and we were able to wipe out the only player on site. And it looks like we chose the right site and they ended up more towards the B and C area, and from here it was an easy hold. One could have made it long. I didn't check it.
One's
Got him.
out, backside. Nice, good job.
Nice.
My bad, he jumped on.
Alright, so now it's 2-0 and this is the next huge round. We started off challenging long and trade 1 for 1 on the A site. From here we started working around A and I get another pick onto the enemy Brimstone and we try to go fast onto the site. I put in my smokes, but we get immediately blocked by the sage wall. From here we decided to go back out and go into B, as breaking this wall on A would have gave the enemy plenty of time to rotate. The tricky part about this situation for them is that A long was still a potential option for us, and because of that it looks like the enemy seemed to have stayed on A and Cypher was able to get into B uncontested. From there we planned for mid and had a solid hold. Sean tries to make a play boosting out, but it was quickly called out and he was dead. Once he went down, it was a 4 versus 2 and the spike was planned for mid, Phoenix was window, so the retake was nearly impossible for the enemy team at this point.
Just play. Nice job.
Alright, so now the score is 4-4 and we had a pretty rough loss streak after being up 4-0. And from here we had a very strong use of ultimates to secure the round. First off, I'm not fully used to Omen's abilities, I'll say that straight up, so he actually surprised me and teleported behind me. Luckily my boy Phoenix was aware of it and destroyed Sean. In the meantime, we had Sova who found an enemy in garage and was able to use his ultimate on him. From there it's a 3v5, C is pretty open so we hit that hard and then we take the site pretty single-handedly. After planning, I was trying to make it to backside but didn't make it when the enemy pushed, but I was able to get a nice spray onto the Phoenix ult and Sage before going down, and we also saw the enemy jet, so I was able to give the enemy positions to my team and allow them to finish the round. Alright, so the score is now 5-4 and there's nothing too special in this round, but I felt the need to put it in for what I did here. Sova was able to land a sick dart that revealed Omen's location in garage, and I think Omen was expecting the push off of that, so he maintained this position, but I noticed that he wasn't moving, so I ended up spamming the doors and was able to wall bang him. Many walls in this game are wall bangable and they can do a ton of damage, so if your abilities are able to reveal an enemy, don't be afraid to spray the wall and try to go for it. Alright, so we're going to jump ahead into 7-9. We are now on the defender side, and this is just another great example of map control. It starts off with Cypher working solo at A. With his traps in his camera, he is able to hold that on his own. The enemy Phoenix decides to push solo mid for some reason, and I was able to out aim him. Now if someone pushes up mid like that, they definitely should have had a support, Perhaps it was delayed or something, but nonetheless, we got the elimination, and with that info play, it's likely that there's more enemies around mid or garage. Because of this, Phoenix starts pushing into garage, and our Cypher decides to rotate into mid. Again, with the cameras and traps, Cypher is allowed to do this rotate, and he's close enough to A that he can rotate back while his traps and cage slows down the enemy if they were to go into A. Sure enough, Phoenix gets another pick by using that push onto garage, and from here, Phoenix spots the enemy C and we rotate. The wall isn't perfect here from Sage, so I was able to get a dink, but I had a puny phantom, so it wasn't a kill and I got whooped. But again, since we had that map control, the rotate was quick and we could take them out no problem. Alright, we're jumping into 8-10, and here's another good example to go for those seemingly random sprays. The enemy Brimstone just took out our Sova, and I used the sound of the bullets to take a pretty good guess at where Brimstone is, so I spammed through the smoke and was able to get the elimination. I did get flanked after though, but luckily Phoenix was there to trade. It does look like Phoenix was aware of this flank, but the timing was a little bit off. No big deal, the trade happens anyway, so it's now a 2 versus 2. From here, it was a very nice clutch from Cypher. You can hear earlier that a slow orb was thrown at mid, meaning that there's probably someone there. Before jumping right onto C, where Jet was, he makes sure to check back at mid, and sure enough, Sage is there trying to flank the rotation, but Cypher was too smart for that. From here, it was honestly just poor positioning from the enemy Jet. He did try to pull some 3D chess play by not playing C long, even though he planted it for that position, so a lot of time was wasted from Cypher trying to clear that out. At this point though, Cypher had to move quicker and defuse the spike, and he made a lot of noise doing so. He goes for the halfway mark and honestly lucked out that Jet wasn't in garage. Jet was at spawn and the plant was not good for him, and as a result, he panic dashes and is unable to shoot quick enough, and Cypher is able to outduel him and take him out and then get back to defusing. Alright, going into the next round, it is 9-10, and this is just another poor play from the enemy Phoenix. He tries to sneak into B site alone and I wipe him out, and from here Cypher is actually able to push deep into A, and he ends up seeing the enemies onto A, but it looked like Jet found him and he's wiped out. Luckily again, Cypher was pushed pretty deep and we had plenty of time to rotate and throw smokes to slow him down, since we knew so early that the enemy was there. The enemy decides to push anyway. Cypher's traps revealed Jet and Sova was able to take her out. After that, Sage just slowly pushes out and I'm able to easily take her down, and from here we already have 3 people on site. Sova takes another player out and then I wipe out the remaining player on A short.
He's staying. Nice.
Alright, we're going into 10-10 now, and we're going to talk about the unorthodox defuse that I did that allowed us to win this round. Now at this point, I think the Phoenix was just really feeling it. He pushes mid alone again and he takes out Sova, but then I'm able to grab the trade when he peeks me. Another thing to note is that Sova's arrow actually revealed him beforehand, which allowed me to perfectly line up my crosshair to spray him out. From here, things actually get very dicey. Phoenix is the sole player on C and he gets wiped out by Jet's ult. The enemy then pushes on and gets Sage as well, allowing them to plant. Cypher goes through garage, but he gets off, and now we know that a player is C long and the spike is planted for C long. So from here, there's a high chance that the players are long, and there wasn't enough time for Jet to make it to the back of site, so I end up ulting at Cubby, which is a common spot that they could be in, and I grab Jet. From here, I noticed that Sean Garris is the last player standing and he does have an op, so I decide to smoke him off long and defuse the spike at an angle though. This is really important. A common thing that people do at the higher ranks is that a teammate will actually ping the middle of the spike to help a player shoot at that spot where most players will try to defuse. You can see from Sean's perspective that this is exactly what happens, and since I defused at an angle, I was able to avoid getting hit and he had no idea where I was. Going back to my perspective, you can again see just how close this shot was to me. If I was at the center, I was definitely a dead man and this could have been a lost round. Alright, so those are the big tips that we used to win this game, but we are going to go into the last round as it really plays into using the fundamentals. We actually have a pretty standard setup: 2 players A, 1 player B, 1 garage, and 1 C. The enemy team decides to do a hard B take. Garage is walled off, so I can quickly go into B to assist Sage. She gets a nice initial pick, and Sean actually does a very sneaky play with the smokes. He navigates through the smokes and then teleports out, and me being a noob, I didn't hear the sound cue for this. Luckily, Sean only had a Spectre and I got an insane flick to eliminate him. I get overwhelmed by Phoenix, but from here my team does the rest of the work. We get the trades, we get the picks, and Brim is the last enemy left and we know that he's mid. Phoenix also has his ult, he goes in, uses the flash effectively, and then finishes off Brim and we win the match. Let's go, guys.
Good job. Good game, guys.
Go, dude. Top rank against Sean Garrett. Let's go. That's all I have for this video. If it helped you out, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let me know in the comments down below what you'd like to see from me next. I know a lot of you guys are new players, so I want to get you guys prepared for what Valorant brings to the table. So let me know what's up. Do you need help with agents? Do you need tips on your aim? Leave them all in the comments down below. I'm Dr. Zora, helping cure you from being a noob, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.